obviously what took place. We're here to talk about Chapel Hill. We had Chapel Hill. We had the Boston Marathon attack. We had quite a number of incidents recently around the country over the past few years. You hear breaking news in the media. You read the newspapers. How many of you have had a conversation, say, the week or 2 weeks after the Boston Marathon attack? How many of you, raise your hand, if you spoke to any law enforcement about what took place in Boston? Local, state, federal. Can you raise your hand? One person in the back. You want to fix that problem. So part of what we do at DHS is something called the Incident Community Coordination Team Conference Call Mechanism. Because of our convening authority, following a Homeland Security incident like the Boston attack, or actually right after Chapel Hill, we basically invite people to call in to talk to. In the case of Chapel Hill, we had 2 United States attorneys in North Carolina. We had FBI headquarters. We had officials from the White House. We had the mayor of Chapel Hill. In the first 24 hours, talking to communities about here's what's really happening in Chapel Hill, and try to answer questions. We did it twice after Boston, within the first 48 hours as well. The United States Attorney in Boston, the local FBI special agent in charge, Boston PD police chief, so that communities understand here's what's really happening. The media does a wonderful job of relaying news as obviously their mission. But oftentimes, we in the United States government and on the law enforcement side find ourselves in a position where we say no comment because it's pending investigation, but then we don't go any further. This one small mechanism that we have affords you the opportunity to hear a little bit more when something very serious happens in that. So if you would like us to add you to that kind of list, simply write down your email address and your name on this sheet, and we'll make sure that you are added to this list. The other reason we use our mailing lists is if we have senior officials from Homeland Security or partner agencies coming to places like Charleston where they're having a public event, we'll make sure that you're included if it's a public event. So you get to do that. Finally, I mentioned that we have this process called community engagement with Homeland Security. We have these standing roundtables in 16 cities around the country. Unfortunately, none of those cities are located in West Virginia. The largest, closest is Columbus, Ohio. But it's an interagency process that we like to see as a model. So here you have represented basically the 3 major federal agencies that can participate in this conversation. And I'm going to lay the burden on the United States Attorney here and say, maybe you guys can start something like this here in Charleston, one of our friends at the FBI, CPD, maybe our colleagues at DHS, so that they meet with you on a regular basis. They stay around table, usually convene in a neutral site, where communities, different diverse communities, community-based organizations, advocacy groups, civil society, they're invited and they're told, why don't you submit agenda items that you want to discuss with the FBI, or with Charleston Police, or with the United States Attorney. And then engage in a 2-hour-long conversation about those agenda items. From our perspective, this builds resilience, this builds awareness, this clarifies policies, so that people are a little bit more informed about what our government is doing, what our government is up to. So while DHS headquarters unfortunately doesn't have the current plans or resources to start one in places like Charleston, like I said, maybe our friends here locally with the U.S. Attorney's leadership can think about doing that if they think it's a good idea. So we're here to really engage in a discussion with you, and I hope you have questions. There are no taboos as far as I'm concerned, and I was invited to help run this conversation because I've done this once or twice before. So why don't we start off? Number 1, does anyone now have a question? Thank you.
Perhaps not the proper forum, but looking at the Department of Homeland Security, trying to feel that there's a warm comfort blanket out there in threats coming both domestically and overseas. I recall shortly after 9/11, there was a Senator General sense, is that pretty much what we're at as far as sharing?
The answer is yes, and I don't know if we have anyone from the Fusion Center. Fusion Center. Okay, I'll delve a little bit into that. Very good question. The reason why DHS was stood up was really for that purpose. We know that in 9/11, before 9/11, a lot of our agencies had bits and pieces of information. They just weren't talking to one another. Simple as sharing information at the classified level. Or not enough of it was going on, as we discovered at 11. So that was the primary reason why DHS was stood up, was to provide this umbrella to coordinate. And maybe Ken can tell you a little bit more about the West Virginia State Fusion Center, but we have these centers all over the United States. They actually predate 9/11. They just became a little bit better funded and better staffed and coordinated after 9/11. These centers are basically your basic room. It could be a building, it could be a room where you have different computer terminals, and then you have every local, state, and federal agency operating in the area talking to one another, sharing information. So our friends at the FBI will have someone, Homeland Security, ICE will have someone, Homeland Security Investigations will have someone, Charleston Police Department, I presume, will have someone, West Virginia State Police, obviously. Now these are operated either by the state or by the city, depending on needs. So, for example, the city of Chicago has its own fusion center. The state of Malone has another. These are, the word intelligence is often misattributed to negative connotations sometimes. These are open source centers. They're not, folks who are going around spying and snooping on people. They're actually simply designed to share different threats at certain classified levels and make sure that every agency operating in the field is aware. It's as simple as that. DHS plays a primary role because fusion centers are funded by DHS, and we have at least one officer from DHS stationed at every fusion center to serve purely a coordinating role. So I hope that does answer sort of generally your question. I'm sure we can delve into it a little bit deeper. I do want to give Ken a chance. He joined us. Ken is the Protective Security Advisor for Homeland Security for DHS in the state of West Virginia. I want to tell you a little bit about what a Protective Security Advisor does and the types of services that we offer to communities.
Good evening. My name is Ken Rule, and I appreciate the opportunity to be here tonight. It's a very important endeavor. Again, as Kareem said, I am Protective Security Advisor for the department, assigned by the Department of Homeland Security to the state of West Virginia. I've been with the program since its inception, approximately 10 years ago. As a matter of fact, next week, I believe it will be my 10th year, celebrate my 10th year as the state's Protective Security Advisor to West Virginia. Hopefully, and like Kareem, I also had a long, drawn-out PowerPoint presentation, but when I talked to Kareem last week, he said, we're trying to keep this down to a discussion-based effort. So, hopefully, you all have in your possession, if you don't, I have in the back, a colored trifold pamphlet. It basically highlights at a high level the role and responsibility of the Protective Security Advisor. Inside that pamphlet is also a 2-page fact sheet. It provides a little bit more down-to-earth detail as to how we go about and assist local communities, etc., in their Homeland Security initiatives. So hopefully if you get a chance to take advantage and take a look at this and answer some of your questions, hopefully it will be a resource for you in the future because it also has my contact information. In a nutshell, the Protective Security Advisor assists state, local, public, and private entities within that state their protective measures index and assisting the Homeland Security initiatives that they may have. In some respects, I'm the conduit between that chemical facility, that church or that house of worship, etc., to their needs, to DHS, and for DHS back to those individuals as well. In a nutshell, I could summarize by saying there's probably three major areas that I spend most of my time. One's conducting vulnerability assessment. And there's obviously too many of those to get into here tonight. Some of these pamphlets do talk a little bit about assessments. Obviously, the more you've had, you know your levels of threat and the more of what your potential vulnerabilities are to your facility, the better off you can protect them. So typically, I spend most of my time on what conduct the vulnerability assessment. The second big area that I get involved in is conducting requested training. In particular, improvised explosive device or IED type training, also active shooter training, etc., for entities that request that. I don't usually conduct particular training. I rely on my brother back at DHS from the Office of Bomb Protection. We spend a lot of time going around the state conducting this type of training. A lot of it is for law enforcement. There's a whole lot of it for folks such as yourself, for gatherings like this. I can see a facility, or I can see a setting like this and present a 2-hour active shooter report in the future, just for example. And finally, the last thing I spend most of my time doing is going to the event at the state, whether that be a chemical spills, whether that be a ratio event, etc. When the state DOC stand up, I maintain a seat there and I provide information to the State Homeland Security Advisor, to the State Emergency Management Director, to the status of critical infrastructure and key resources within the state, so that they know what is affected, what facilities that are affected, what they need in order to get up and running, etc. So that's basically takes care of my hour-and-a-half PowerPoint presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Who said feds are boring? So thank you for that question. There's a question in the back, yes, sir.
Yeah, so I just wanted to get your input and shed some light on, something that keeps a lot of minorities, law-abiding citizens, in a sense of fear here in this country. I've watched many interviews where people are put on these lists, no-fly lists and all these things, and there doesn't seem to be a process where you can really just go and clear yourself. And, I just want to get your input on why we don't have that. And that way, people cannot live in fear, and I think it'll help a lot of people that are unjustly placed on the list get off the list. Thank you.
That's great to me. Number one, there is this process. I don't know if you received one of the packets that we have. I'll make sure you get one. There's something called DHS TRIP, Traveler Redress. Nobody's from TSA. It's a process where someone submits their information, and we screen the information they provide and contrast it to whatever information we may have. Oftentimes, as you said, someone is falsely flagged to be on a watch list or a no-fly list or whatever you choose to call it. I do want to clarify that process because that's something that is often brought up. I oftentimes say, someone tries to travel, they book their travel flight, and they can't check in online. You go to the airport, they can't use the kiosk, they'll see an agent. They go to see an airline agent, and sometimes they see the SSSS on boarding pass. And they go through extra security screening by TSA, or sometimes, under other circumstances, local airport police is called in to clear off the individual. On very rare occasions, individuals will say you can't fly. So that redress process that my office actually supervises along with TSA headquarters is designed to basically verify an individual's identity who may be flagged inadvertently as a result of information we may have that might be similar by name or what have you. For those of you who remember post 9/11, when you used to make airline reservations, did you used to put your birth date and gender right after 9/11? You do it now.
No.
You do it now. 5 years ago, you didn't do that. That was an added step that we placed in order to make sure we have enough information on individuals who are being flagged by mistake on some sort of a watch list process. DHS does not own the list. DHS is the biggest customer of the list. I'm just going to use the term list. It's actually much more complex than that. TSA receives that list from another agency on a continuous basis. Our job is to simply run the information we have against that information that's provided to us, and then implement based on the category. The information we added, such as date of birth and gender, is designed so that if the information that's being provided to us says we're looking for someone who is a danger to society for one reason or another, and they're born July 6, 1967, and this person making the reservation has a very similar name, similar middle name, same gender, but they're born in 1984, well, that person's not going to get flagged. So we added the birth date and we added the gender. But it's still a challenge. There's an entire other presentation about the watch listing process that we will gladly offer working with our colleagues at the Terrorism Screening Center, which is housed at the FBI. I don't know if my colleagues in the bureau here want to chime in about the watch listing process and how people can sometimes inadvertently get flagged.
It does happen inadvertently. I'm sorry, Chris Courtright. I'm the supervisor of the FBI here in Charleston. And, I remember in years past, I haven't seen any recently because I think the process has gotten a little bit better, but it sounds like it hasn't gotten much better. There were issues in the past where, it would flag a person because you may have the same name or whatever, but once they started using date of birth, social security number, or other some sort of identifier, that decreased that number. And I'm trying to think, because we typically get called by the airport when somebody on the watch list gets, arrives there. And I can't remember a call, actually. It's been a very long time at this airport here. So the process, I think, has gotten better. There is a redress for it. People are...
No, I mentioned TRIP, and one thing I do want to qualify is there was a federal court ruling out of the state of Oregon that indicated basically that we need to do a slightly better job at this redress process I'm describing. So DHS is actually now, as a result of that federal ruling, DHS is now in the process of actually re-evaluating the TRIP process to make it more robust and more transparent. But if you want to talk to me, if you have individual cases that you want to raise, that's my office's responsibility. So maybe if you want to raise that, I'll give you my card afterwards, or we can talk offline. Yes, ma'am.
I just want to ask, based on that, follow up on that, what is the police department doing to train their rank and file reasonable officers, that's traffic and monitoring and all of that, and make sure we'll file? Because when they see people like me, specifically or an artistic person, immediately they can set and, they think we're hiding something behind his hair here. Of course we're not. So I want to know, what are you doing in terms of management and diversity and the acceptance of people who are wearing head cover, so that when they see us, they don't actually get really scared. They don't get scared, because they just get us up and we just become very, they have that suspicious behavior.
We do have diversity training throughout our officers. I'm very discouraged if you've had experience with an officer being tense up and nervous, just based on the way you dress. Can't speak for every officer as far as what makes them nervous. I do know we try to treat everyone in the city like our customers. Chief Restaurant believes in customer service, and we try to provide the best customer service for everyone in the city. You mentioned racial profiling. We do not tolerate profiling in that. So if anyone believes that a victim of racial profiling is one of our officers, please give us a call. You can call the Chief's office, 304-348-6460. And myself and the Chief Purcell will be more than happy to speak.
For us, we see diversity as strength. And it's not just about education. We have, if you screen through the folder I gave you, you'll see these posters that we created at DHS. explaining what the hijab is, or with our friends in the Sikh community, explaining why a gentleman would choose to wear the turban or carry a small knife. That's part of our responsibility, is to educate our workforce on the diversity of our nation. A few years ago, during Hajj, pilgrimage, Muslim holy pilgrimage to Mecca and Saudi Arabia, community groups started complaining to us, to my office, saying that the CBP officers are throwing away holy water, Zamzam, when we bring it over from Saudi Arabia after pilgrimage. What can you do to help us? At the time, our CBP officers were not educated about what this issue is about. So what we did was, we worked with CBP, and now part of their regular muster, continuing education, basically. Every year, around our season, they get a lesson in, here's what has happened, here's why there are large numbers of people choosing to travel to Saudi Arabia. Here's why some of them choose to shave their heads when they come back, or what have you. Here's why they carry bottles of water with them back from Saudi Arabia, and this is considered holy water, and that you should treat it, give it its due respect, while at the same time not jeopardizing any rules that you do follow as far as liquid issues. Those complaints were actually virtually eliminated the next year. CBP is a very large agency that operates basically every international port of entry in the United States and in at least 24 airports around the world. Yet, we were able to implement that rather easily by telling them, here's what this is about, clearing it up. But, speaking personally, I consider myself an Appalachian American, I guess. I grew up in Huntington. But I also happen to be a Muslim American and an Arab. And I can't speak for other agencies, I can speak for mine. Walking in Washington, D.C., in the hallways of Homeland Security, I look around, and I don't see us reflecting what our country looks like. So, even though we have an African American in the White House, my boss, Secretary Jay Johnson, is himself an African American person. He often goes around talking about his personal journey as an African American, becoming the Secretary of Homeland Security. But I still don't see it reflected. We should be the mirror image of what our country looks like. That's when we perfect our youth. And so part of my conversation with different diverse communities around the country is it's wonderful to be successful physicians and professors and engineers, but there's another field out there. It's called the federal government. It's called law enforcement. Whether local, state, or federal, this is your government. This is your country. And so make sure that different diverse communities, the ones represented here today, are aware, that your children are aware, that the best way you can serve your country and your community is by making sure that your children are aware that they can become a senior policy advisor at Homeland Security. We really need to send that message out. That's definitely one thing that we want to make sure is appropriately reflected when we have this broader conversation about whether it's cultural awareness training or other.
We are really proud we have you as a representative from West Virginia. And I really would like to thank all our guests from local as well as national for coming here to address us. But also I wanted to reshift the focus on the message that we heard earlier from Imam Antapuri saying, the community, the Muslim community in Chapel Hill is in a panic mode. And to a lower extent, Muslims around the country are panicking over the ongoing events that we're seeing every day, pretty much. This happened more prominently over the past few weeks or a couple of months. This is, to me and to many others, I feel this has been associated with media, certain coverage, including different news channels, as well as movies and other media outlets, focusing more and to some extent promoting Islamophobia, or we perceive as if it's promoting that. And we feel as a result of that, and some statements were made by some of the people who committed these violent acts, unfortunately, that they were motivated by some media or movies or things of that nature. And I understand we don't have representative from the FCC here, but I think there is a relationship between hate speech and certain media coverage and what we're seeing in terms of violence against Muslims that happened recently. And we understand the DHS was formed after September 11, and it's a huge infrastructure. We want to know, as a Muslim community living in the United States, and we are engaging with the local and national authorities, and we would like to be a partner in this. We would like to know what is being done to protect us from what's going on, starting from media, try to cut down on that much literature and coverage that's promoting Islamophobia, all the way to law enforcement and in terms of intelligence gathering to prevent attacks similar to what happened in Chapel Hill. Thank you.
I don't know if you, I'm sure the U.S. Attorney will add to this, but I think we need to be able to tell the difference. Hateful speech is free speech, protected in our country. First Amendment says so. So a lot of people can say some very hateful things, but guess what? They have every right to say it. And the best way to counter hateful speech is with more speech. That's very important. But there is a legal line. There's no question about that. And I will toss it over to the U.S. Attorney to tell you where that legal line is.
Well, one of the things that really struck me in looking at the coverage, looking at what happened after the Chapel Hill shooting, was just that countering speech, that countering action. The mission, one of the victims was trying to raise money. He had received $3,000 of the $20,000 goal for his mission. And within days, $300,000 from around the country poured in. And it's really that that serves as the antidote for the extreme hate-filled speech that we're seeing. And while our new tools, our new social media tools, unfortunately give more people that ability to espouse that hatefulness, it also allows many more people of like mind and like caring to come together and join hands and provide the antidote to that. We don't need a First Amendment, you're right, we don't need a First Amendment to protect popular speech. We need a First Amendment to protect that speech that many of us would find boiled our blood. But it's that speech coupled with equal action that we have to address, and we are committed to addressing. And finding that sweet spot to counter that action right before it occurred, it's so challenging. But that's why these fora are so critical. We need to hear from you and
hear from you often about the experiences that you have in our communities, so that we can be ready to respond, ready to curtail those sorts of actions before they do break.
I think you had your hand up, so go ahead. And then Jeff over there.
Thank you everybody for coming and presenting to the government on the respecting us. I was going to carry on your thought, Karim, about losing the big picture when you were walking the hallways of the Department of Homeland Security. And I feel, with all due respect to all the agencies and the government you guys represent, your work will still be deficient if we are talking about ethnically or religiously motivated crimes or terror acts if we do not include the United States Department of State. You cannot separate the United States foreign policy and take it away from what happens at the homeland with the cable TV and the internet and the satellite TV and seeing people being killed and civilians being bombed justifiably or not justifiably. And then you say, well, that's a different business and I'm going to just focus on protecting you here. I don't see how that's possible. We spend more than all the world combined on what we call defense in military spending. We have more troops all over the world outside our homeland land compared with anybody else in the world. And then you want to take that apart and say, well, just let's focus how do we protect you. I don't see how that can be possible without integrating the United States and NATO. And you may be limited about what you can answer, what you can say, because you're officers of the government. But I see this is deficient. I respect you, I thank you, but this is not going to happen without the integration of the State Department in this effort. Thank you.
You work very closely with the State Department. I didn't know that you had one at the State Department. I would have had someone from, I'm presuming the Bureau of Affairs. Phase 2 will be that. So let's follow up. The State Department is actually often around the table with us in these forums. So that's number one. And there's a shortcoming in our part. We'll deal with it the next time and make sure the State Department is.
Please stand in front of the mic.
I'm sorry, okay. I tend to be, as I said, I tend to be a roamer, so
Thank you.
as I was saying, the State Department is often in these forums with us, but it's based on our host and who they think that the topic belongs to. Nonetheless, you do make a valid point. One thing I would encourage you to do is it's your every right as a citizen to make sure that the United States government is aware of your thoughts, whether it's domestic policy or foreign policy, whether you're members of Congress or through engaging with different agencies in the administration. So please do that. But one thing I also want to highlight is I have a very good friend, a mutual friend that Ali knows well as well, who often goes around. He's a respected member of civil society from the Muslim American community. And his key quote is, "Home is not where my grandparents were buried. Home is where my grandchildren are going to grow up." And that's also something that we should always keep in mind, especially those of us who happen to be Americans by choice. We came to this country for a reason. I am proud to call myself one of those individuals. And so that's something that I also would flag when we're highlighting these issues, is we speak first and foremost as Americans. But with that, we will definitely follow up as far as the State Department being included in future forums. If obviously if the community wishes to invite them, we'll gladly relay that information and secure the right speaker. I think there was a hand up over there before that, but if you're giving, go ahead.
That's fine. I just wanted to dovetail the comment that was just made and, commend the executive committee of the Islamic Association of West Virginia for being proactive and insightful and hiring a security officer who is actually a Muslim police officer in Charleston to provide security for us. And, as we shift our understanding back to the fact that Muslims are not threats for violence, but threats of violence, and we do those measures. I wondered how we could use use that and leverage the help of state police and other municipal organizations to see that we are vulnerable and to give our officer and give our senator more of a presence in their grounds and in their everyday, rounds.
You're talking about increased security patrols. I'm going to obviously, the deputy chief can perhaps speak to as far as the Charleston Police Department, but I am going to throw it back to Ken, because I don't know if you heard what he said. We offer as far as proactive security advice. Ken is making himself available if you want to reach out to him to provide basically a security analysis and can be rather in depth, as I understand, of a security assessment of the structure, the infrastructure, what's missing, weak points, vulnerabilities. He's also offered active shooter training so that a community location that may deem itself vulnerable to a potential attack, he will come in with the right partners and provide this 2 or 3 hour long training to tell you here's what you do if there is an active shooter situation, which is something that is obviously also required. But it's based on individual requests, and we make it available to anyone. And you want to elaborate on that? Or?
That is correct. Really, all anyone needs to do is reach out to me. We'll come out and we'll take a look. We'll have an initial sit down, look at what your thoughts are, your concerns, look at your facility, determine then which type of assessment would be best for your particular needs, because there's several different ones out there. Obviously, these assessments are free of charge. They're state of the art too. They come back in a dashboard format where you're compared to similar facilities. It's been done across the country. So House of Worship that was conducted here in Charleston will come back compared to houses of worship that were conducted across the United States, where there's thousands. So just all you need to do is reach out to me, sit down, take a look at what your goals are, what your plan is, and advise you from there and work with you throughout the whole process. It's very simple. Thank you.
And then from a local law enforcement perspective, as far as increased controls of visibility.
Yeah, locally, anytime we can consider increased patrols, if we're notified of potential problem areas where you want extra patrols, we do that all the time. We'll work with the plan on any through assessments and everything. Just notify us.
Also, just as a quick follow-up to that, when we do assessments, we'll always reach out to those other partners, whether they're federal, state, or local. If they were done here in Charleston, we would make sure that you have a face and you can contact when we do these type of assessments as well.
There's a, I don't know if you have a microphone.
Kareem,
Yes, sorry, go ahead.
Kareem, first I would like to congratulate you both as unanimously for everything that you've achieved. And you're indeed very proud. This question goes mostly to the FBI and the U.S. Attorney's Office. I don't know if you're familiar with me, but I am. And I've had many cases with your friends and relatives with the law. A few years ago, I took a tour with a friend of mine on the New River. And we were having a very good time. Came back after having had a good time. And we later got a call from the meeting. And we went for an interview. And we were informed that a complaint was registered for basically talking about something that could have been in the secret stages. So we walked over to the FBI office. Of course, we were so concerned. And what I was told was that one of us had talked about utilizing heroin. And what had happened was I was making fun of my friend who just bought a Lexus. And I said, what's the next step? Are you going to buy a private jet? And this was construed to be a threat. Now my question in this scenario is, and I can follow up. We addressed the FBI to us very, very nicely. I even made fun of the FBI agent. I said, I brought him 60 calls. And he did the right stuff. So, in any event, but my question is this. In case this ever happens again, and I feel compelled not just to answer that situation, but also race issues, that is a form of hate crime, or at least a form of racial discrimination, that you take someone's most innocuous comment and raise it to the level of a disturbance. Do I go back to the FBI and raise that complaint? Do I go to the Civil Rights Division of the U.S. Attorney's Office? What do I do? As an attorney, I'm asking that question.
I think the FBI is certainly a suitable agency to raise that question. Likewise, with my office, call me. I've been for years, and that's one of the wonderful things that we have here in West Virginia, is we have this close connection with one another. And we will address it, and you're right. It is incredibly disturbing that an innocuous comment would spark an inquiry of that nature. By the same token, we have to encourage each other to, if they see something or hear something, they need to say something. So there is that delicate balance that we have to not discourage individuals from reporting matters that they perceive of concern, while at the same time being sensitive to the concerns of people who would be involved. So absolutely, we want to talk with you about that, and that when we want to hear from you, I'm happy to give anyone, people know how to get in contact. I'll give you my cell phone. It's 304-610-0257. Please reach out to me. I want to hear from you. I know Chris feels exactly the same way about the concerns, about what you experience, and we'll do our very best to address it.
Thank you for that. Some of you may not realize the significance of this, but the United States Attorney just gave me a cell phone.
No funny text.
With all due respect to the other U.S. attorneys that I know very well, but I cannot imagine our friend in Chicago or Denver or LA going up to folks and say, here's my cell phone. So thank you for that. Kudos. That's leadership. And Chris, I started off by saying that DHS is by no means perfect. I'm not going to take a jab here, but you guys aren't perfect, are you?
We're definitely not perfect.
Thank you for that. So the other guy's not perfect either. They do make mistakes, as we do. Yes, sir.
Yeah, just a couple things. One, the gentleman's comment about, I guess the way I was taking it, maybe limiting free speech. You know, I'm certainly not a worldly person, but from what I've read, Europe's attempt with laws to limit free speech don't seem to be working too good, And I hope that our country's not getting to where they are when you look at all the uprisings. But I guess my question, particularly to your agency, is how are we reaching out to youth who may be getting influenced on a small scale compared to other countries by some of these violent extremist groups that you're talking about? We just this year celebrated, the 50th anniversary of the Civil Rights Movement in America that was led particularly by our youth. Their energy and their zeal and their faces on American television were what changed our civil rights problem in America. And I'm just asking a question.
That's a very, very good question. Very, sometimes a tricky question. Our problem in the U.S. as far as different violent extremist ideologies, regardless of motivation, and the use of social media is a major problem. But it's nowhere near, fortunately, what we've seen in Europe. We've seen neo-Nazi groups use it, we've seen white supremacist groups use it, and we've seen Al-Qaeda and Daesh or ISIS or ISIL, whatever they used to call them, use it. They follow the same modus operandi, the same exact steps that white supremacists or sovereign citizens sometimes that choose to exercise violence against the U.S. government using social media. Same exact operation we see from Al-Qaeda and their affiliates or associates. In this country, we're fortunate. So far, we've only had, the unclassed number is 180 situations where individuals have left the United States and have joined overseas violent extremist groups, designated terrorist organizations. That's extremely low when you compare it to much smaller countries in Europe. So we must be doing something right. But we're not perfect. So what the U.S. government is doing about it, separate from these types of conversations where we're exchanging very broad information and engaging in dialogue, is we've, DHS, the U.S. Attorney's Executive Office, U.S. Attorneys around the country, the Justice Department, and the National Counterterrorism Center have created 2 tools that we use, where we've done it now in 21 cities so far, where we go out in settings like this, usually tailored towards sort of the more youthful population of the community, or to parents, not focusing on a single demographic, really by everyone. And we say, here's something called the Community Awareness Briefing, or CAB. It's basically a 2 to 4 hour long PowerPoint presentation with embedded videos, taking basically case studies of different individuals who unfortunately fallen victims, we do see them as victims, into this online social media trap. And here's how these groups are using these types of social media. I'm 41 years old. I know Facebook, I know Twitter, I know something about Instagram. There are social media tools out there that I've never heard of, that young kids are using. It's simply unbelievable. There's at least a dozen more that I had never heard of before I saw this community awareness briefing myself. Those are the tools that are being used to prey upon our kids. And when I say our kids, because they are our kids. I'll take you back to a situation that took place in Denver, Colorado this past fall. 3 young girls, 15, 16, and 17 years old. High school students, really no problem with usual teenage angst, and we've all dealt with it. They started, through social media, engaging with individuals in Europe who initially were just chatting with them on different platforms. That was in April. October, they're on a flight, Lufthansa, bound from JFK International Airport in New York City to Frankfurt, Germany, with a connecting flight to Istanbul, Turkey. Now, unfortunately, the family of one of those kids contacted the local FBI office in Denver, contacted their member of Congress. They reached out to CBP, and CBP was able to interact with German authorities and actually stop them in Frankfurt, Germany. Took them on a flight back to Denver, Colorado. How did 3 young girls from Denver, Colorado end up wanting to go? Allegedly, the intent was to join ISIS. Now, we don't know their individual stories. We don't. I'm sure it's a very complex matter. But we do know is that 3 young Americans somehow started talking to the wrong people on social media in April, and in October they were on a flight to go to an area in Syria that was unfortunately under the control of ISIS. Fortunately, we stopped them. They were returned to their families. One thing we did right, and this is something that's been highlighted by NPR, which I have the clip, it's very important, is the United States Attorney in Denver and the FBI Special Agent in charge, after reviewing the matter, decided not to bring charges against them. They viewed them as victims, as they were, just like any victim of a predator that uses the internet. But our community awareness briefing, so after this happened, we went into Denver, and we're still actually in Denver, doing a lot of awareness building related to these types of issues. So we've done this community awareness briefing in the Denver area now almost 2 dozen times, educating people about the different social media platforms that are out there and what they can do It's pure basic parenting. How many of you want your 14, 13, 12-year-old to be online without knowing what they're doing online? Basic parenting. But oftentimes, it's a generational gap. As I said, I'm 41 years old, and when I saw some of these social media platforms that are out there, I had no clue what they were talking about. Yet apparently, kids as young as 6 years old, are actually using these platforms without the knowledge of their parents. Most of the time, and I'm sure 99% of the time, completely innocently. But there are very bad people out there that are basically hunting our kids using those same platforms. The other tool that we bring to the table is something called a community resiliency exercise. This is a 4-hour to 8-hour long tabletop exercise where we bring local police, FBI, U.S. Attorney's Office to be there, where they are moderating, and community members. And you role play. If something like this happened in your school, in your community, and we run a scenario, how would the parent react? How would the sibling react? How would the teacher react? Should you report it to law enforcement, or is it really not the role of law enforcement? Maybe it's the role of the community, or the teacher, or the school counselor, to make sure that individuals, usually younger individuals, are stopped and geared towards more constructive activity. So that's the other tool that we bring to the table. And if there's a need out there in Charleston for something like this, I can definitely work with my colleague, the U.S. Attorney, and Chris at the Bureau, and we can definitely do something like this in Charleston. So there are quite a number of hands out there. I don't know if anybody's keeping track, so I'll just...
Okay, so before I know there are a lot of hands were raised. Just want to be cognizant of the time, and I'm going to leave it up to the panel and then up to the audience, because obviously this is very intriguing. So it's 10 after 8 or so. So that's just be cognizant of time, and we'll leave it up to you whether you want to continue or not. Number two, I know there are some questions. I do have a question to ask before. We are speaking about a lot of different factors, and I'm glad that we have the wealth of information and the resources available here. I want to try to bring it home into the local level and not lose focus of why we're here. So foreign policy, we can handle that at the voting booth, for example. We can study our Constitution and know that freedom of speech is here, and this is the beautiful thing about this country. So it gives us an opportunity to recounter the hate speech. But to bring it home, one thing that I want to make sure that everybody walks away with: if there is an unfortunate incident happens here similar to Chapel Hill, who's our first contact? Who do we call first? So that's number one. What is the sequence of events after that? So that's number two. Secondly, for everybody here to take away the resources that are available. So what I heard is, for example, Boab from Rev. Myers. Ken spoke about the active shooter training. And then obviously the U.S. Attorney was kind enough to give us his phone number. I did not see anyone write a phone number down. I don't have some did. So it's recorded, so we have a copy of it. We will not share it because we're selfish. So we have access to all of these individuals. I just want to make sure everyone in the room are aware of what the resources are, what can we do to prevent incidents happening, so we can have the assessment, from Ken. If it does happen, where we go from here, and then thirdly, is to forge a common civic response. So if it happens to our friends at the temple or the synagogue, and we want to come as Muslims and Christians to come and support with us, we need to have a contact person from every congregation where we can say, who's my first contact to the synagogue, to the temple, to St. John's? If we can also have a sign-in sheet, and we can develop a contact list, that would be great. So that way we can convene in homes immediately and be together to serve one another. Does that make sense? Okay, so I'm done with the microphone. The time is in your hand, and I'm going to give it back to Feroz so he can facilitate the microphone.
I do understand there's tip off at 8:40. The Mountaineers are playing the Cubs. Is that right? So just FYI, yes, ma'am, you haven't had it for a while. We'll get this.
I want to mention another resource that Charleston, West Virginia has available to it. We have a sister city program here in Charleston, West Virginia, with Slovakia in Central Europe, where I work. We have built connections between Slovakia. We have started out talking very seriously to them of the rise of Nazism in the area. We've exchanged youth programs with the West Virginia Youth Symphony. We need a few more sister city programs.
We're
Why not?
We're sister city of Sarajevo also.
Oh, okay, good. And then, how about Sarajevo?
The only thing I'll say about Sarajevo right now is that we also have a Charleston police officer who's from Sarajevo. So,
Thank you for letting us speak.
one of the things that I think was really missing from what we talked about today and critical is going into the high schools and talking to the young people. We really need to recognize their sophistication. They are so bright, and we don't take that into consideration. And so they go on social media and get all of these contacts with these crazy people, and we can't talk to them about it because we don't know what they're doing because we leave them out.
Thank you.
I want to just, I mean, you're absolutely right. We need to be talking to our schools about internet safety, about bullying, about drug abuse, those sorts of issues. Actually, I have been out with some colleagues from across the police department, from the United States Marshal for this district. We've probably talked to 40 different schools so far here in the Southern District, mainly focusing on middle schools and mainly focusing on those three topics. So we are out on it, and probably my favorite time of my week when I can go out and talk to these kids. Last week I was at Greenbrier East High School, talked to 1,000 young people about these issues. But you're absolutely right. We need to be comfortable. We need to be let them know the dangers that they face online.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
With relationship to the African American community, and I have a stepdaughter who is African American in another city. She was commenting to us that the person who committed the crimes in the Phoenix area, who was white, I believe he was tasered rather than brought down with a gun, which was what was happening when in black communities. So I was wondering what comment there is about that.
If that was correct.
I'm personally not familiar. I think I know what you're referencing, but I'm not qualified to speak on the U.S.
Shot by I think it was in the last week or so, in Phoenix area.
I mean, I can't speak for an individual incident. None of us is able to comment on the circumstances of what caused the local police officer in Phoenix, Arizona to do what they did. But I think this relates to a much bigger conversation, and we saw it most recently with Ferguson. We need to keep in perspective what this country's history is all about. The civil rights movement is not in the past. It's in the present. The civil rights movement continues. Now, despite the fact, as I mentioned, we have an African American in the White House. My boss, the Homeland Security Secretary, is an African American. We're not there yet. We still have challenges in society. And part of this, really the title of this event that our colleagues chose, I think is very telling. We're still moving toward healing in our society. Part of it is to champion diversity. I mean, It doesn't pertain to only one community. My friends in the Irish, how many of you are Irish heritage? Raise your hand. Anyone? They can tell you the same story. We used to have signs, formal signs, that say Irish need not apply. You can't work if you're Irish. Of course, our friends in the African American have an entirely different story to tell, starting with slavery and moving on. So that's the story and that's the journey of what this country is about. But first and foremost, we, whether we're the African American community, not by choice, or most of us by choice, we are a nation of immigrants. And we continue that journey. Today, my friends, my own community, and most of the American community feels that they're under the spotlight. Since 9/11, we continue under the spotlight in many different forms. But we need to keep things in perspective. This is not a first for our country. Our country's tackled a lot of these types of issues. How many of you are familiar with the Chinese Exclusion Act, where they basically told people, if you're Chinese, you're no longer welcome in our country. So, as we're having these conversations, I think it's very important for us. We can talk about individual incidents, talk about Ferguson and other incidents. We need to keep things in context. And the more we're able to talk about them freely, the better we are as a country. So there's a hand up there. Yes, sir.
Whenever they were talking about high school and recruitment among high school, I was just thinking about the Chapel Hill shooting itself. And to me, it represented a new aspect of violence here in America, and the fact that it came from an anti-theist. And normally people here in America think of religiously backed violence, whether it be, how President Obama described how Christianity was used to justify certain aspects of violence during slavery, or how the KKK used Christianity to advocate violence on their behalf, or how Muslims now, extremist organizations are advocating it on a religious basis. And so my question is, what are we doing to look at one of the biggest threats that's growing right now, and that is this anti-theist movement? And we're here gathered in a church as different groups of faiths. And to me, on a college level, I attend WVU. That to me is one of the most dangerous aspects is people now have reached a level of hate for religion because they see religion as a source of violence, and so they think being violent to eliminate religion is justified in their eyes. And it feeds into that extremist methodology and that extremist logic. But I would ask the FBI representative, please, what are the steps that you guys are taking to see this new trend that I see growing? I don't know if you guys have acknowledged it, if you guys also see it growing, and hopefully this isn't too long of a question. Thank you.
We actually take the same steps and treat that as just another extremist group. So we would take the same steps with that we would take with any other, extremist that we look at. Because we're not really looking at, I have to say that, we're not really looking at a specific target group. We're looking at the extremists. So that's kind of how we would treat that. Now, I haven't seen an uptick in that, but that doesn't mean that it's not happening because, I have a small world view here for now, but we would treat that the same way we would treat anything else. If we saw, if there was something that they were doing and they were leading up to that point where it gets away from free speech and turns into something else, we would look at it the same as anything else. I don't know if that's kind of short.
Thank you.